Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's been a couple weeks. I took a short break because I was waiting on a bit of new equipment to come before I started recording again. Hopefully this is a lot better in terms of audio. I picked up a new Audio Technica microphone in order to capture my voice in its true glory. And I also had to pick up a audio interface to hook up the mic to my computer. So what you're hearing now is directly from this Audio Technica mic here. It's a AT2050. I believe it's one of the higher tier condenser mic models. And I chose it because I wanted something that I could use in different situations. I'm planning to set up a audio studio when I move back home to San Jose, and this mic in particular has a bunch of different features, such as switching between different patterns, having a low filter, and this is it right here. Uh, Please tell me what you think. I hope that it's like capturing more of my voice and less of the surrounding noise. I get a lot of cars passing by my house, so it's a little bit difficult to shoot in these conditions. I'm hoping that once I get my home studio set up, that the environment's going to be really awesome. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about what's been happening here, between my school and the work that I'm doing. Mainly on the school side, we're coming up on 8 weeks since starting the school from home setup. It's all online classes, and 2 months in, having to go to class online and attend lectures on Zoom and do group assignments through Zoom also, without being really close to having like the in-person experience of listening to a lecture and in-person experience of having a group discussion. It's been a little difficult getting used to it. Um, and I'd say around the 1 month mark, it started sinking in how sort of more stressful this sort of environment is, especially when we try to stay at home all day, and don't have a change of environment. In a usual online scenario case, you still have your daily life to attend to, perhaps going out on weekends to visit friends, and maybe even going to work if you're doing a part-time situation. But since we're in this quarantine, it's been taking a toll on us. So some of the first things that I noticed happening was that it was more difficult to keep track of my schedule. Um, there was less of a discussion around schedule because I wasn't meeting people and having to tell them, what was on my plate. Um, it was harder to keep up with tasks because we would maybe our teacher might try to remind us during the Zoom discussion and the lecture, but we very quickly forget if we weren't 100% focused on like scheduling out our entire calendar. So I remember uh, just a couple weeks into the quarter, I forgot to turn in an assignment, and it turned out I wasn't the only one. Many of my students fell in the same trap. We sort of had so many things going on in addition to school that it fell through the cracks. Um, so many of the classes this quarter have been sort of toning down the requirements for assignments. Um, in particular, my one of my marketing classes, the professor is being a little more forgiving on the homeworks, and he's making one of them optional because he understands the workload is more stress inducing in these times. And I've been noticing some of a drop in attendance in my TA class. So I'm TAing technology management course for undergraduate students. And as the quarter has been going by, the participant count on our Zoom session has been sort of dwindling. And even for my discussion sessions, we started out at about 40 students, I think 40 plus students per discussion session. And it's under 20 now. Sort of only about half the students are showing up. Of course, it's kind of understandable. These discussion sessions are optional. And I hope that the students that aren't attending I know that they have a good reason for it, and I hope that they spend the extra time that they get to sort of de-stress and take care of their needs. So some other things that I've been trying to do to manage my stress levels during these times are to be more conscious about exercise and food. These are two things that I found that are super easy to lose track of. Sort of when I go out and have to attend classes at school, it's very easy to schedule a lunch with my classmates. It's also very easy to go downtown to pick up a small bite to eat. But at home, I have to cook every day for myself. I don't really do too much of a delivery of food, so I haven't been ordering that much. But I go out, get groceries, bring them home, and I have to cook every day, and that's another task on my task list that's difficult to do. So just making sure that I set the priority to get in about 30 minutes of exercise a day, and then also to make sure that I don't skip meals, because it's just so easy to decide not to cook lunch and cook dinner and grab a snack instead. My body will feel kind of happy that it's getting some sort of food, but it's not nutritious enough. So those two things are 100% on the very top of my priority list at P0. So every day, no matter if it's before I have to sleep or once I wake up, making sure to get that little bit of exercise in, and then making sure that I do my cooking for the day so that I have food and sustenance is keeping me going. And lastly, I think taking a little bit of time off from technology. Since everything is online, we're kind of required to spend time on the computer to do work, spend time on the computer to play, spend time on the computer to go to school, and even using our phones to communicate to other people. We're just 100% plugged in all the time. So I found it very useful to take another slice of my time out from the day to step away from that. And something that I usually do is I sit down and draw for a little bit. And that brings me away from the screen and puts me in a different mode where I'm, holding a pen and just being creative on paper. So let's get to it. Today I wanted to share a little bit about the last couple of sketchbook pages that I've been working on. These pages have been geared towards the game that I'm going to build. Now, the game idea is still a bit fluid. It's still developing, so I'm still in sort of the experimental and ideation phase. And these characters that I've been designing could be in the game, they could be in the final product, and they could also be cut or modified. So nothing's really set in stone right now. It's still very early on in the process. Okay, so the way I'm going to do this, I'm just going to feature a couple of drawings from my sketchbook. These few characters here. On the left, I designed a sort of character that is wearing a shawl, and she has more of like a feathery pattern to it. I'm planning for her to be a mender. So she'll be sort of a support character in the game that will use naturalistic magic to heal her allies. In terms of her theme, the sort of feather element is going to bring her close to the sky, birds, and nature. On the right, this is a character that's more of a fighter. She's wearing a bit of a shoulder guard, light armor, and she'll be using a sword. So the next character I'm going to talk about is probably going to be named Berry, Berry or Berrie. I haven't figured out how to spell it yet. But her special feature is that she wears really fluffy sleeves. So she moves very quickly on the battlefield. So she's more of like a combat dancer. And on this page here, I was sort of experimenting with what characters would look like in game. So I'm trying to come up with a way to create a small chibi style characters. So I call them little chibi beans. And I'm gonna be trying to do a full illustration with the chibi beans to see how they look in game. If the game's going to be a platformer style perspective from the side, I think the chibi beans will work out very well. But in terms of a top-down perspective, it might be more difficult to fit this type of chibi in. But I'm really happy with the chibi beans because the characters' facial expressions, style, and costume really show up in the drawing.